So you do have people who are older than you working for
Everyone
you.
is older than me.
Has that been an issue?
No.
Have they ever
I've always thought it was going to be an issue.
questioned you?
You're smart, you're motivated, you want to do something big. You're on the verge of being a young boss, and we're going to help you get there. I'm your host, Isabel Garino, and welcome to the Young Boss Podcast, where youth is your power.
There's a saying, it's never too late to start something. But today's guest is the embodiment of you're never too young to start something. That's right, today's guest once contemplated dropping out of high school because he was making such good money as an entrepreneur, all during the midst of the pandemic. And I'm extremely excited to introduce Benjamin Hoang, founder and CEO of Bolt Deals based out of Houston, Texas. Benjamin, welcome to the Young Boss Podcast.
Isabel, thank you so much for having me.
Happy to have you here. And I'm so excited. You're our youngest guest.
I get that all the time, and it makes me really happy because my goal going on these podcasts is to pretty much inspire other people who are in high school, really lost as to what they want to do with their lives, and show them that it's actually possible and age is not a barrier.
Amen. You're in the right place. Yes, I'm excited. So tell us a little bit about navigating entrepreneurship as a young adult, right? What challenges have you had and how did you get started in your business?
In my opinion, I was having to balance high school and business at the same time.
Yeah.
And that was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life because my family, my friends around me are like, focus on school, get good grades, excel, get into college, things like that. But my passion and where the things that I wanted to do was scale my business, serve more real estate investors. So the question is, how do I balance both? It is very hard, right? And the way I managed to do this was slacking in school, focusing and running my business in class.
Yeah,
right?
Priorities.
My teachers didn't like that. My parents definitely did not like that.
Yep.
But it was what I had to do to scale to the next level. I started this business when I was during the midst of COVID. So that was around 2020.
Yeah.
School shut down, when COVID shut down everything. I just realized how much time I had on my hands, right? My sister, my friends, my peers were all, goofing around, TikToks, and just not really doing anything productive.
No.
And I'm not gonna lie, I was on TikTok as well, but the content that I was being fed was a lot of business and entrepreneurial type content.
Okay.
So that's pretty much when the sort of entrepreneurial bug bit me.
Yeah.
And I was like, instead of me wasting this time that I have, why not do something with it?
Yeah.
And that's when I, underwent my little search of what I wanted to do. I was looking at drop shipping. I was looking at Amazon FBA. I was looking at real estate wholesaling, all these types of business models and niches that I could have gone into.
Right.
And I ultimately stumbled upon the marketing agency opportunity, mainly due to the fact that it was low capital.
Yeah.
So I didn't need to invest money up front to get into it.
Okay.
I realized that I could scale businesses as well as make money consistently. I'm like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I read somewhere or I got TikTok fed to me where it mentioned something along the lines of, if you could learn to market and you can learn to sell, you can do anything you want in this business.
I couldn't agree more.
So this pretty much led me and sold me on the fact that running a marketing agency was the best thing for me to do, right? 3 years later, lots of stress, tireless, nights and days and crap that I've gone through. I built this to what I like to believe is one of the most sought after marketing agencies in this industry for real estate investors.
Congratulations. That's amazing. That is awesome.
100%. Thank you so much.
So you got started with that. You were doing everything on your own.
Yes, ma'am.
And do you have a team now?
Thank God I do, because I wouldn't be able to do this. When I first started, for me, I believe every entrepreneur starts off as a solopreneur.
Yeah.
Right? They're doing everything themselves. They're doing marketing, they're doing sales, they're doing operations, client success, fulfillment, all of that.
Yep.
And for me, I was doing all of that as a solopreneur while balancing high school.
Right.
So the way the easiest way to explain it is that when the bell rings in high school around 3 p.m., you get out, everybody's happy because the day is over.
Yeah.
I look at myself as if, shoot, my day's just getting started. So where I'm trying to go with this is that whenever an entrepreneur learns about delegation, that's when things start to take off, right? For me, I was a big, I want to do everything myself. I'm better than everyone at this. So I wasn't really able to scale until I learned about delegation. So right now we have about 7 people on our team, and we're looking to onboard 2 more by the end of the month.
That's amazing.
So
it's true. I heard a phrase that says the hustler has to die for the CEO to live.
correct.
Like
100%.
if you keep doing it all yourself, you're not going to be able to grow to the opportunities and take on more clients because you
100%.
only have so much time in the day.
Exactly.
You know?
And what I learned from one of my favorite books that I'm reading right now, it's called Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. He says something in the book where if you're not able to hire and pretty much buy back your time, you're pretty much robbing someone else from income opportunity, a job, and skills that would eventually benefit them.
Yeah.
So right now, whenever I get tasks handed to me or things that I have to do, I'm always figuring out what can I delegate? Who can I hand this off to where not only can they do it the same level as me, but better than me?
Yep. The who, not the how.
Correct. The who, not the how.
I love it. Now, what makes your marketing agency different than others? Why are clients choosing you? And how do you market yourself that way?
I love that. I love that question so much because you get that on a lot of sales calls as well.
Yeah.
And the way I break it down is 2 pillars, if you would. There's experience and then there's data. So when I say experience, I mean that we've worked with investors doing 2 to 3 deals a month, and we work with investors doing 20, 30 deals. So we've seen what happens in between. We can go to a client and say, hey, once you scale to X revenue mark or X deal mark, you're going to encounter this. And here's how we're going to help you take care of this. That way you don't run into the same troubles and, operational bottlenecks that's preventing you from scaling. So that's the experience. When it comes to data, whenever you work with someone that's doing 2 to 3 deals a month and 20, 30 deals a month, you get data as to what works in the ads, what doesn't, and then we can leverage that for our new clients to make sure that we're not going through that sort of learning phase, if you would.
You can speed it up based on your past experience 100%. With them. If a non-real estate investor wants to work with you, are you focused on that niche?
I am 100% focused on only real estate investors, mainly due to the fact that this niche is, in my opinion, the best niche there is out there, right? I have a passion for working with real estate investors. My goal is to become a real estate investor myself. So there's pretty much a vertical alignment in only focusing and only servicing real estate investors.
And I like that it's also teaching you stuff because you're saying
100%.
you want to be a real estate investor.
100%.
So you're servicing them, but also getting education and
100%.
what to do, what not to do.
Exactly. I've built such amazing relationships with our clients where it's like, not only are they learning things from me, I'm also learning things about them, right? We have clients that are also real estate investors, but they have other things on the side. For example, we have this one lady, she has a software company that does anywhere from $50 to $60 million a year in revenue. And there's so much that I learned from her. And I believe that there's things that she learns from me about real estate. I don't think you can get this elsewhere. You can't buy this opportunity. That's something that I'm extremely, extremely grateful for with my clients that I work with.
Okay, when you were thinking about expanding and scaling and growing, and you went to hire new team members, what did you focus on most? Was it like core values? Did you want to work with all younger people? Do you have older people working for you? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so when it comes to hiring, my process is in a way I believe very thorough.
Okay.
Whenever I hire, there are a few things I hire for. Obviously, they have to match core values. I have 3 main core values and sub-core values, if you would. First one is unassailable character, right? And we'll get into that in a second. Second is competitive innovation. Core value 3 is unrivaled client support.
Okay.
Regardless of the role that I hire for, if they do not meet these core values, I simply will not bring them onto the team, which is why I believe since my hiring process is so thorough and so long, my team turnover is pretty much non-existent. Right? So going back to unassailable character, I have 4 sort of sub values under that: extreme ownership, coachability, work ethic, and leadership capabilities. The way I explain to my team is that if I speak at an event, I don't see you speaking alongside me, I will not have you on the team, right? I believe that, hiring is similar to sales. You have to not only does a candidate have to sell you on why you should hire them, me as the employer has to sell the candidate on why they should work with me and why, this is the opportunity that would best fit them.
Right.
I learned this. There's a gym in Houston called Alpha Land.
I've been there.
The founder, Christian Guzman,
Yep.
I ran into him and I got a 30-minute conversation one-on-one with him. And one of the biggest takeaways that I had that he told me is that build a a company and have a vision so big where people are willing to shut their stuff down and come join you, right? So for me, it's like, you mentioned age and hiring young people. That is not, I could care less about.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I'd rather hire older people, right?
Yeah.
Because now they're teaching me things.
Yeah.
We have someone on my team named James. To give you a little, snapshot of him, he's built teams for Fortune 500 companies, 2/3 of them actually. He's built systems and processes, managed and coached founders, things like that. And on top of that, he's also built a land wholesaling company himself out of Tennessee.
Awesome.
So right now, he pretty much is our client success director because he knows our clients and the problems they're going through better than I would.
Yep.
And he's able to help them through that. So that's the core value side. And then in regards to skill side, I make them go through all these tests, all these role plays, whether that's personality tests, role play tests, if it's a sales role, or if it's a client success role, or, a media buyer and someone who runs ads, I pretty much have them set it up and explain their thinking process, right? Because the mistake that I made starting out with hiring is that if someone, it's easy to sell me if I'm 17. You tell me what I want to hear, shoot, I'll bring you on, right? But now it's like, I want to understand, how does this prospect think, or how does this candidate think, right? Are they more of an emotional thinker, or are they more of an analytical thinker, right? I'm trying to understand that. And the only way I believe you can do that is through putting them through these tests during the interview process to see how they come up with their decisions, how they would handle this situation, how would they troubleshoot this, things like that. And then after that, it's pretty much an alignment call, having a proper onboarding process to make sure that not only do they have everything they need to be successful, but they understand why they're here and where they can be in the next 6, 12 months if, say, they hit all their KPIs.
Yeah.
So that's the way that I hire, and I'll just say it works pretty well for me.
Do you use predictive index?
I don't. I use more of the Tony Robbins DISC test.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if that's familiar. I've taken a look at the Myers-Briggs, but haven't had much experience with that. But for me, it's what type of thinker, how does this guy think, right? And making sure, after they pass all the tests, they align with their core values.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to, for example, if you talk to a salesperson, most salespeople, they just want the commission. So how do I find a salesperson where the work ethic is there and they actually care about the client? And it's by just constantly talking to them over and over again to see when they break and if they're willing to spill out the truth, right? Because most salespeople, again, they just care about the commission. So how do I find someone who's actually caring about the prospect that they're talking to make sure that we're not selling them something that will not help them?
Right. It's got to be the right fit.
100%. And that's something that's worked very well for me.
That's great.
Hey you, why waste time scrolling through social media when you could be learning how to raise capital, manage a team, and be a boss? It's time to level up and hit that subscribe button for the Young Boss Podcast. Now, back to the show.
So you do have people who are older than you working for
Everyone
you.
is older than me.
Has that been an issue?
No.
Have they ever
I've always thought it was going to be an issue.
questioned you?
For the first, I'd say year or 2 years of my business, I think, I always hid my age from even coaching programs that I was in because I was so embarrassed. Obviously, I hid it from my team as well, but eventually they found out on my 18th birthday somehow. For me, I don't really notice it to be a problem. As a matter of fact, from what they say, they respect me more because of it.
Yeah.
But obviously, it wasn't always that way. In the beginning, the fact that I hit it, they would look at it as, this is just my boss. Let me just clock in, clock out. But now the fact that they see I'm young and, apparently they're boss, which I tried them, hey, we're team members, no one's higher than other people. We're pretty much all on the same page, and I don't really see it to be an issue.
I think it's actually, I say a lot of times that older people in business, they look at younger people and say damn, I wish I was thinking of that, doing that, taking those risks at your age.
100%.
And so the respect level is there, and people are a little fearful of it. Are they going to think different of me? Are they going to be worried about this?
100%.
But they're not, because they're actually
it's a lot of respect,
admiring you.
Exactly.
They're wow, I want to support this guy, and 100%. I want to help make his vision come to life because I wish someone did that for me.
Exactly. And this goes back to, hiring and selling the candidate on why they should work with you. If you don't have a vision big enough to where A players can see themselves working with you, you're just not going to bring them on.
Yep.
I brought on these A players, and to me, A players, is different for everybody.
Right.
But for me, it's you have to have a vision so big enough to where even that candidate is inspired to work with you and they want to be a part of it. And this goes back to what Christian told me. But if you have a smaller vision where you're just there to make money, you're just there to generate revenue, revenue, bringing on an A player and especially retaining them is going to be a massive problem for you, in my opinion.
I couldn't agree more. Can you tell me about maybe like a mistake you made in business and how you overcame it?
Oh my gosh, there's so many to count. Mistakes that I made in business. There's so many. There's some in regards to hiring the wrong mentors. There's some to not training my team properly. Okay, I'll say this. The biggest mistake that I've had in business was I have the wrong expectations starting out about business. Okay. Let me elaborate. My dream was to always have, for example, 100% client success rate. Keep every single client that I have happy, every client on my team getting outstanding results. And I told all my mentors, right? I have mentors that are doing 8 figures. I have mentors that built massive companies, things like that. And they all told me, I mean, you can try, but it's going to be very, very hard, nearly impossible. I'm like, okay, I'll be the 1%. I'll be the one person that makes it possible.
Yeah.
And for 2 years of me trying to hit that, I just couldn't do it. And it bottlenecked us so bad.
Yeah.
Another thing is like having expectations of team members. For example, one of my biggest challenge, I believe, for me in business was building a sales team. Everyone talks about building a sales team and it's the easiest thing. Just hire, give them a script and let them blast, right? Let them fly. But for me, my expectations of salespeople are so high, mainly due to the fact that the way I sell is just so like different than everybody else. Like, let me give you an example. Whenever I get on a sales call or any call in general, the first thing I'm trying to figure out is what type of personality is this prospect?
Yeah.
It's very hard to teach someone that.
Yeah.
Right? You can't teach someone to like read their body language, read their tonality, control the pacing of your conversation, things like that. It is extremely hard to teach someone that.
Yeah.
And my expectation was, hey, what if I just hired someone that already knew this?
Right.
But hiring someone that already knows that is nearly impossible. So for the longest time, I mean, it took me over a year to get out of sales and I still don't believe I'm out of it. My expectations of hiring and candidates and business in general was one of the biggest mistakes and biggest bottlenecks that have stunted my ability to scale. So for me, it's like having these mentors tell me, okay, this is what business is. This is good. This is bad. This is average. Try to be a little over here instead of over here, right? Because I'm looking for the 0.001% of talent, but that's not easy.
Yeah.
You know, I had the wrong expectations of what business was. And that's one of my biggest mistakes I believe I had.
First of all, thank you for sharing that and 100%. Just like almost admitting it, right? Because I think a lot of people have a vision of what business is and what other people will be able to bring to the table because
100%.
They themselves can bring it 100%. And it's their skill. And so they think like, well, everyone else is going to have this skill. Like,
100%.
And they don't realize that like you're the rarity. You're the one who's starting the business. You're the one with the ideas and taking the time to educate yourself and learn and grow. Not everyone's doing that.
100%. Another thing I'll add on to that, and a perfect example I believe would pretty much get this point across is the fact that how every new entrepreneur loves the idea of being CEO. They just love it because it's this title, I believe, that gets overused and thrown around. In my opinion, I heard this quote from somebody like earlier this week. Everybody talks about being the CEO, but what you have to realize and the expectation, I should say, set upon these newer entrepreneurs that they're making all this money, life is good, they're traveling, you know, everything's just a blast. But the thing about being a CEO is that you get little credit when, you know, the team's winning and everybody's their success, but you get all of the blame when things go bad. And I think most entrepreneurs just don't understand that, right? They think just CEOs like, oh, I'm the most glamorous. So for example, when I get on a podcast and I was like, how does it feel to be CEO? Or how do you feel being a CEO so young? I'm like, dude, it's stressful. It is not easy. And I will never set the expectation on anyone that it is easy. Then that begs a follow-up question. How do you handle that?
Right.
And I heard this quote from Hormozy, I think it was along the lines of, problems don't get easier, you just get better.
Yeah.
So I think being a CEO is hard, but the real dream is to have a CEO in place and you're just on the board of directors. I believe that is the goal.
You're in the owner's
Yeah.
box.
So again, this goes back to setting proper expectations with people, and sort of my mission eventually with content, once I hopefully blow up one day, is to really document the successes the wins, the good side and the bad side of business.
Yeah.
And sort of enable the audience, the viewers, to decide whether or not business is right.
If it's truly for them. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, they
100%.
say, right, that you're giving up the 9 to 5 to go work 5 to 9.
Yeah, 24/7 pretty much when you're
And
first starting out. Yeah.
So let's talk about that. How's work-life balance for you? How have you figured it out? You're out of school now, I'm assuming.
100%. I graduated as a junior. Actually.
Okay.
I never had a senior year.
Okay, there you go. So how are you doing with work-life balance? Can it get better?
100%. It can definitely get better. But for me, it's like I've delegated or I'd say 90% of the tasks that I'm not good at or what doesn't fulfill me. And I focus on the 10%, which does fulfill me and brings me joy. And this is what Dan Martell talks about in his book. He calls it the drip matrix: delegate, replacement, investment, and production. I've tailored all of the delegation and the admin work and the sort of onboarding, things like that, to my team members who not only love it, but do it better than I do it.
Yeah.
That way I can focus more on sort of the visionary role, the revenue driving, the investment quadrant of that drip matrix.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, I don't really look at it as work-life balance, because there'll be times where, like, for me, my definition of life is just doing things that I enjoy. And if it's me enjoying building out an SOP on a Sunday night, I guess that's what I'm going to do. But if you refer to life as, you know, going out and partying, I mean, I'm not even old enough to do most of these things, right? So
like having a girlfriend, spending time with your family, doing sports, working out, like enjoying, like smelling the roses, right? Like that type of life.
If you were going to consider that, I'd say 99% of my life is work and 1% of my life is life.
So there's room. There's
a little bit of room for that. But for me, I try to do things on my schedule. And like, if I don't feel like working as hard on one day, I won't work as hard. I'll do, you know, easier tasks.
Yeah.
But if there's just this one time where I'm just feeling inspired and I have this dopamine rush.
Yeah.
I'll just bang out a ton of stuff and I'll just get extremely productive. So I don't have a girlfriend. For
He's
me,
single,
again,
people.
again, my expectations are very high. I believe that's one of the biggest reasons. You know, I don't go out. I don't really hang out with family too much. I just try to do my own thing. I work out every morning around like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
On the weekdays at least. Obviously, it's better than when I first started is what I'll say.
It's also different. You're growing right now. You're in 100%. The growing phase. And so once you get to more of a phase where you're not in any of those day-to-day things,
100%.
All those are off your plate, and you make the same amount of money whether you're there or you're not there,
100%.
Then that's different.
100%.
You know?
And I think that's the goal for every entrepreneur. Needs to understand that's the target, right? The goal is not to be in the day-to-day. I mean, I have friends of mine who, you know, talk about like, oh, I love hustling. I love waking up at 5 a.m. And to be fair, it's every entrepreneur starting out, right? They're very ambitious. They think they can do everything in the world. And eventually, I believe they will burn out like I did, and they will like, okay, maybe I should take care of myself a little bit more.
Yeah.
Work-life balance is not there. It's non-existent. Is what I'll say.
Okay, we'll work on it. I'll
try my best.
When I see you in September, will you increase it from 1% to 2%?
I will definitely try my best. I just need to figure out like, what would I do with that time?
Like, what do you want to do? Yeah, like, is there things that you feel like you're missing in life because you're spending so much time at work?
I definitely think so. I mean, I think if I were to get all my time back, the first thing I would do is go get my pilot's license.
Oh, okay. That's a super fun ambition.
One of my dreams growing up was to become a pilot.
Yeah.
And I remember, you know, a quick glimpse. I went on the first plane ride when I was in like pre-K or kindergarten.
Yeah.
And I was fascinated by the cockpit. And growing up, I wanted to go to the Air Force and fly fighter jets. And then like last year, Top Gun Maverick came out. I'm like, I want to do that.
This is me.
Yeah, I watched the movie like 3 times, I think, after this. And a lot of entrepreneurs have pilot's license.
They do.
Now. So it's like a community now.
It is.
So I think after I get myself out of the day-to-day, the dream would be to go get a pilot's license.
Okay, I love it. Guns and flying are very big for entrepreneurs, 100%. I feel like.
For me at my age, I don't even know if I can get guns yet. I think I can in Texas, but
you can.
Yeah, but
it's Texas.
Yeah, I got to be careful, you know what I mean? Don't want to do anything silly.
Okay, when you are thinking about the power of networking and social connections, and obviously I think a benefit of being a young boss is that we grew up in a social media age where
100%.
people who are 50, 60 years old, maybe it's just a little bit more unfamiliar to them.
100%.
How have you used social media and networking to kind of help launch and grow yourself, your business, and all that good stuff?
100%. I love this question, and I'll answer it in a few ways. Most of the time when I speak to clients or friends who are going to events to try and network, I believe they do it the wrong way. And this is just my opinion. The way I networking, I'll put it this way, has literally changed my life, changed my business, and given me a clear vision of what I actually want in life. Because sometimes entrepreneurs will look at the guy doing like $1 million a year and be like, that is my dream, right? That is what I want to be at. That's what I want to do. And an example would be once you get to network with him and you get to build that relationship with him, you realize that maybe I don't want $1 million a year business. Maybe it's a little harder than, it's not as glamorous as it sounds, because if he's at $1 million and he's making the same that I'm making, why would I want to scale? So there's a lot of things you can do when networking. Networking has changed my life. And I believe, I watched a lot of videos in regards to networking. So this is my approach to networking. Yeah. Whenever I go in an event, pick on a podcast like this or any sort of conference, I always come in with what is my USP, right? Why should someone remember me? Why should someone keep me not only in their contacts list, but actually take that initiative to reach out to me and talk to me? For me, my initiative or my USP is that I'm younger than most people and I have depending on how you justify success, a successful business. So how can I use that? I use that as my opening or pitch to these other people. That way they would actually want to talk to me. Yeah. Another key hack that works all the time for me is whenever I go to events or pay for tickets, you always want to get the VIP. You always get the highest one, the one that gives you the most access, right? Yeah. If they're giving you food or drinks or whatever, that doesn't matter. But I always try to get into the VIP access because that's where you get to meet the speakers. Yeah. And if you can sort of sell yourself to the influencer as to why they should talk to you and why they should connect with you, that's where the power of networking really sort of blooms. Yeah. So for me, I'm young, I run a pretty successful business, and I like to think I'm a pretty good communicator. And this goes back to why, being good at sales and being good at marketing is so important in life. That, if you're able to sell yourself to an influencer, pretty much convince them damn, I'm going to talk to this guy because he's young and has a successful business. What if I bring him to my podcast and help, have him do my work? And that just blows us all up. And that's where I believe I get the most value out of networking. What I used to do that was wrong is that, I'd pay for the general admission. I'd go in there, take notes. Whenever I go to conferences, my belief is that the value of the event is not inside on the presentation, but actually outside where people are chatting. Right? You just go up to people, just talk to them, just have a normal conversation. There's no script. I have an opener. It's like, hey, what do you do? And where are you from? But the mistake that I made when I first started out networking is that I would just stay in my little bubble. I wouldn't want to talk to anyone. And it's an opportunity for you to get out of your comfort zone. I believe most entrepreneurs need to realize is that all it takes is one connection to change their business and change their life.
100%.
That's all it takes. The hardest part is just finding that one connection. Yeah. And you can only do that by talking to tons of people. Yeah. And that's sort of my approach to networking. And that's how it's pretty much changed my life and changed my business.
I love that. Let's talk about numbers a little bit. So how much are you projecting to do this year? Gross and net?
It'll be a 7-figure year, our first 7-figure year.
That's awesome. 100%. Congratulations.
100%.
And you started in 2020?
2020. Officially 2021, LLC and stuff. But
okay, so 2021, where were you at?
That's maybe $5K a month. Okay. Yeah, $35K a month as a sophomore in high school.
Yeah. Okay, so big growth over the last 2 years.
I would say so.
And you've mentioned mentorship quite a few times. How have mentors helped guide you on this journey, and how important do you think that they are to young professionals?
Very important is the easy way to say it. I'll give you an example, because I love giving examples if you couldn't tell. I had a mentor named Joe. Yeah. He's based out of Milwaukee, and to give you a little gist of it, he pretty much broke me down from everything, all my beliefs, all my thoughts, all my mindsets, everything I knew, and almost rebuilt me back up, right? Beliefs about business, beliefs about sales, beliefs about communicating, beliefs about just everything. Yeah. He has a holistic approach on topics that I ask him. Like on sales, it's not like, hey, like a good example. When I first, went under his wing, if you would, I looked at sales as just a script, talking to people and bringing them in, right? The way he explains it in a simple sentence is that, hey, can you help the prospect? Is this guy something will stay with you long, right? So he looks at things as a holistic approach. And my point of saying this is that whenever you have a really good mentor who's pretty much able to take you under their wing, they will break down all your beliefs and make you look at things from literally a 3D sort of dimension. And having mentors, it clears the roadblocks, it clears the lessons or mistakes that you would have made that would be prevented if you had a mentor. So most entrepreneurs, me included, when I first started, I was so against paying for coaching, consulting, mentor. I just thought it was the goofiest thing ever.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I paid for it that I realized like I wasted a year of my life because of the fact that I had such a big ego where I didn't want to pay for mentorship. And it wasn't until I did that my business literally skyrocketed. If I could go back to my 15-year-old self and tell him, hey, what would you do differently? It would be to invest in a mentor, invest in a coaching program as quickly as possible.
Right.
Definitely don't let your ego get in the way, because if we're making $35K a month, for me, I had a pretty big ego.
You're doing good.
Yeah. So very, very important for someone to have a mentor in their business.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And we've talked about so many of the topics you've brought up. So it's right on the money with everything that we mentioned here. Just telling, all of the people who are younger in business, like it is a moment where you have to let your ego down and just say.
And it's hard.
It is hard.
It is very hard.
But there's always somebody who knows more than you, is smarter than you, and can help you on that path. And if you don't let them help you, you're literally only hindering yourself.
100%. And this is why I also believe that masterminds are so important. Because if you join the right mastermind, for example, if you're doing 10K a month, and you're in a mastermind with people doing 100K a month or $1 million a month, it's very hard to have an ego when you're in a room like. So getting around people like that, they motivate you, they inspire you to realize, hey, there's more to it. I'm just a little boy to them. I thought I was doing well until I met, and some people would say comparison is a thief of joy. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. But for me, it's like being around people that do so much better than you. They are also, you need to understand that they have people that are doing better than them.
Yep.
And now we're all just trying to learn from each other and level up. So this is why, for me, I just try to join masterminds.
Yep.
I pay for hourly consulting calls with people that are just doing crazy numbers.
Yeah.
Because my goal is to just understand, how do they think, right? How do they make decisions? Because if you think about it, where you're at right now is sort of a combination of the decisions you've made months or even years ago. So if you can make the right decisions, I believe that that's all it takes to be successful, because at the end of the day, business life is all about decisions.
Yep.
So that's sort of my take on that.
I love it.
100%.
Anything else you want to mention in particular?
No, I think I've poured a lot.
You did
A
great.
lot, yeah. I think I mentioned a lot.
Is there any other young bosses you want to shout out?
100%. A few of them are one of my close friends, Tony. He's running a similar business to what I do. The biggest difference is that he's in content. I'm in more paid traffic. Pretty much, I've seen him when he first started, right? And he invested in coaching, and he wasn't very ego-fed like I was. Watching him, grow and work with, multiple 8-figure companies now makes me proud to see that a bit of his success, just a little bit. And I saw it when he first started. So Tony, if you're out there, this goes to you, buddy. He's someone that inspires me even when seeing the things he's trying to do. And I think, it's important to have that circle of young people around me doing big numbers, and really motivates you to want to level up and not get left behind.
Love it. So. And how do people find out more about you?
People can find out about me on my website, boltdeals.io. They can go on my Facebook. It's Benjamin, like Benjamin Franklin. Last name is Hoang, and the profile picture probably going to be the first one. You'll find me easily. Instagram is bmh.benji, and yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. It was great to have you, and really fun to hear your insight on business.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Young Boss Podcast with your host, Isabel Garino. Be sure to like, share, and follow on Instagram and TikTok, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And let us know, how old were you when you started your business? Remember, youth is your power.